Hello, no one on YouTube.
Wait, turning this on?
Oh, I thought it was on. Hello, everyone. Hold on.
No, why are we not on there?
I don't, because it's not, I think it just takes a second. It says, hang on. Hello, Facebook.
Hello.
Hopefully it's working. If not, we've got
Right?
good. If not, we've got Danny Facebook. I know. It's, I need to adjust. Just getting all adjusted and ready to go. Thanks for joining us. Hey, CM Sifron. Are we saying that right? I know. You laugh every time.
C. McFerrin.
Oh, that's
I'm
way
gonna
off.
guess.
Who was right? Me or Claudie? Thanks for joining.
McFerrin.
Mine didn't sound too bad. Thanks for joining, guys. We're just going to wait a few more seconds while other people jump on here for our live weekly Allergy Life Q&A. Probably because I'm slouching. There. Looks more similar. For those who are new or just joining, my name is Megan, and I am the blogger over at Allergy Awesomeness. It is a website, mostly recipes, and it is where you can learn how to be awesome even with food allergies. Hey, Julie. Hey, Amanda. Good to see you guys back on. Hey, strong, healthy me. Got those mixed up. Thanks for joining. Hello. Thanks for waving. Yeah, as you guys are joining, feel free to say hello. Tell us where you're from. Hey, Amanda. So I just introduced myself, and let me introduce the man of the hour.
Oh, I did an introduction?
Well, I was just going to go like this. Let me introduce you.
So you're not introducing
me.
me. She's
not.
just pointing
Lies.
the attention towards it. So my name is Claudie. I'm Megan's husband.
I know you can take it and run with it.
Father of 3.
Hey, Ashley Hurst.
2 boys, 1 girl. Our oldest 2 have food allergies.
True story. Hey, Julie. Oh, I forget you don't have Instagram. I'm sorry you missed it last week.
We tried.
I know. We've got an older device we do Instagram on, and it's been giving us the runaround. So both of our, like you mentioned, both of our boys have multiple food allergies. Our oldest has 10 anaphylactic food allergies, and then also avoids 20 foods for his EOE. So he has over 30 foods he avoids, and he also has asthma. And then our second has peanuts and tree nuts as allergies. And so far, our baby, if you saw it, was her birthday today, and she just turned 1. And so far, knock on wood, no food allergies. Hey, Ashley Hurst.
Our kids also have seasonal allergies. I guess if we're including asthma, our kids do have seasonal allergies.
And cats and dogs and horses.
Pet dander allergies.
And dust and just about everything you can imagine. Okay. Basia's Kitchen. I'm not good at reading those. See? Fingers. Thanks for joining. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Father's Day. How was your Father's Day?
My Father's Day was good. It was busy. It was really good. It was surprisingly good because I was expecting it to be busy.
You didn't think busy and good would coexist?
No, because I was anxious. I had church on Father's Day. Father's Day is a very emotionally driven holiday for me. But yesterday was good. It went well. I got lasagna, which I always look forward to. It's one of my favorite dishes that I get only a couple times of the year. Like my birthday and Father's Day.
Pretty much.
Mainly because it has a lot of cheese, which our kids, well, my oldest is allergic to dairy. So, and it takes a lot of time. Because I guess honestly, I can make it.
Sure.
But.
So, sorry, real quick. Instagram, we can't see ourselves. Can you tell us? Can you see us? Can someone give us a thumbs up if you can see us? I mean, you're waving, so. Oh, our bad. That would be total user error. Wow.
So they were getting the screen
Good for you guys.
Just
hanging on
hearing
there with
our
a blue
voices.
screen.
I tried to fix it, but she said it was gonna fix itself.
Well, it said hang on, but our bad. Hey,
So
Melissa.
It's fixed.
Oh, it's fixed. That being said, and he's very kind about it, but the other reason why I don't like making lasagna is I don't like having cheese in the house, especially shredded, because I feel like it gets everywhere. And then because we always try and do dinner the same for our oldest, so he doesn't feel left out. Especially because he's like seeing Garfield and he's like, oh, what's lasagna? You know.
Garfield has lasagna?
The cat, yeah.
Huh.
That's like his favorite dish.
Really?
Yeah. Because you haven't seen it in a while. So, so anyway, so I have to make like 2 lasagnas. One with his saved cheese, one with Claudie's, and Claudie still needs gluten-free noodles. Anyways, it's like double the work. And then I'm bleaching and always nervous that, you know, we're using different spatulas and different everything. So.
Melissa says your hair looks amazing.
Well, that means a lot. She's a hairdresser. So thank you, Melissa. So yeah, and he is a simple guy. In fact, so we always start our weekly lives off with a tidbit, and we've recently started telling it for each other because that's kind of fun. Sorry, can you hear our kids in the background?
Probably.
Will someone say yes or no if you can hear our kids? Because then we'll know if we need to like talk louder. Our kids are having a hard time going to bed tonight. But he is a simple guy, and I appreciate that. Like for Father's Day, it wasn't like, oh, I need a new phone or I need some crazy electronic like some guys do. He was like, I just want your homemade lasagna. So I appreciate that you are easy to please. So Ashley, yes, you can hear the kids. Is that what the yes is too? Hey, Peachy Frass. You gotta type faster, Mom. It's my mom that's answering. Yes, you can hear the baby.
I can, but it's faint. No worries, bedtime. Thanks,
Yeah.
Kylie.
Do you want me to go or you
No,
go?
you can go.
Okay. You want to introduce the topic?
I guess you introduce it.
Okay, so then are you going?
No, we'll just wait.
Not it. Oh, okay. So our topic, because it was Father's Day, we thought it would be kind of fun to do like an Allergy Dads edition because I feel like with food allergies, like the food allergy mom gets a lot of the attention. And
That's your blog.
Thanks, Peachy Frass. Well, no, I just feel like, but I feel like in general, I hear like, oh, I'm an allergy mom. Like I feel like that's a title moms take on, and I don't know. I just feel like in the community, I don't hear a lot about dads. And so that's why I appreciate that you do these lives because it gives us kind of that different perspective. So I want to like dedicate.
I'm not the spokesperson though, right?
Oh yeah.
No,
I'm
not the spokesperson.
I know you're not. But
I've had that experience before. Being the token black guy, they expect you to be the spokesperson.
Yeah.
So I'm not the spokesperson for Allergy Dads, but yes, I can share my experience.
Yes.
As an allergy
and your perspective. Dad. Yeah, because it's different than mine. Like we definitely think very differently.
Yeah.
So that's why I always appreciate having him on. Hi, Vivi. Thanks for saying hi and staying up. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. You're so good to remember it's Mondays. So oh my goodness. Usually our kid goes to bed well, but
just
not tonight. Okay. So what we want to talk about tonight was just kind of ask Claudie what his experiences and thoughts have been on being an allergy dad. We missed a few people. Hey, S. Don Wilson. Hey, Eula Hain. Sorry, I'm probably slaughtering that. I'm terrible, guys. You can just say like, my name is, because it's hard to guess from the handles, and then I won't slaughter it. So, anyways, I have come up with a list of questions that I was going to ask Claudie. Although I'm gonna run and check on our children, so maybe you can if you can read my handwriting. This is very shorthand.
Or if you guys have questions.
Yeah, and then you guys can ask your questions as well.
Because I'm guessing she wrote questions that she was guessing that you guys would be interested in.
Yeah, so help him out. Ask him some questions while I go check on the baby. Or your first one. Do you feel like you carry emotional weight because your kid's allergies? Ooh, Melissa, starting off with a good one. Yes, she knows what she's asking.
Emotional weight. I guess I need some clarification on emotional weight, Melissa. Always on your mind. No, it's not always on my mind. Um, yeah, it really isn't always on my mind. There's certain times where it's on my mind. I'm constantly concerned about the future, safety, etc. No. Um, when Carter first, when we first figured out what Carter was dealing with, our oldest, it was probably a lot more on the mind because it was unexpected. We were unprepared. Um, it was new to us. We hadn't been educated. But I feel as we become educated, we've gotten used to it. We've done the testing. We've had, um, seen the professionals as far as allergists, and we've raised them, and we've been able to instill certain habits and gotten used to those habits. And Megan, has done a lot of work on figuring out recipes. A lot of that emotional weight that I initially had kind of went away. And I think as a father, I think for me, the main thing is, right, as a father, most of us feel our job is to protect your child and to provide for your child. And so I think the hardest part was trying to figure out, like, how do I protect my child? What does protecting my child look like that has food allergies? And what does providing look like? And I guess providing was probably the most stressful part because it's the doctor's appointments, right? It costs money. It's the specialists. It's the ER visits. And so, those type of things go in your mind. Like, do we have enough to go the distance throughout this process? So I guess that's where I initially spent more of my time. And so, of course, that meant working more or, trying to figure out things like that. But as far as, I guess, emotionally, no, I didn't really carry much weight, or at least not right now. With his transition to school, again, a little bit of that comes back because, okay, how do we transition? He's not in our care or Megan's care most of the time. He has teachers and he has peers. And so, yeah, there's times those type of things come to mind. I think, honestly, I spend probably a healthy amount of time just worrying about him being a kid in general. Like, he's a boy.
Parenting is hard, period.
Yeah, he's a boy, so it's not just allergies. And most of the time it's not just allergies. And I think because of the comfort of having that kind of figured out and stabilized, like, I think I spend more time about what is he getting into.
Yeah, why is he hitting his brother?
And, like, he's running around the neighborhood, like, what is he going to do? What impulse is he going to have? And,
could I ask, because I was in the other room, did you say you feel like you don't worry about it as much as you did at the beginning?
Well, yeah.
And do you feel like that's just because it's routine now, or is it because you've learned different coping skills?
I think it's because it's routine, and we've figured things out, like being educated on it, you spending time to figure out recipes, things like that.
Would you feel more stress if, like, because he has to avoid over 30 foods, if you felt like I hadn't diversified his diet, like, would that be stressful for you if you felt like he was eating really bland, the same things over and over?
No. Not necessarily.
That wouldn't bother you? Because that would bother. I was just thinking if the roles were reversed, if I felt like you were the one at home and had time to make the food and you weren't going to the trouble to, like, give him a good diet. If you were like, well, he can just eat plain chicken and plain rice, like, I'd be like, oh.
Yeah,
that would bother me.
And that's a very extreme example.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just eat plain chicken and plain rice at this point.
You know what I mean. Hey, my little son.
So no, I don't think so.
Okay. Let us know if that answered it for you, Melissa. But I think that was a good answer, Claudia.
So.
But can I just add too? I think that's partly your personality, though. I mean, don't you feel like you're not one that worries? I don't know. I guess
that's not the case. Like, when I expressed, at first it was worrisome. We had a brand new child.
I feel like you just carry it different, though, than I do.
Firstborn child, you're just worried about they got enough fingers and toes and They're breathing. And then of course initially like the doctors give you like, well, you got to meet these milestones, and you're like, okay,
And
that's routine.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to something like your child's projectile vomiting, they're not wanting to eat, they're losing weight, you don't know what's going on, that is worrisome or concerning. I think as far as me handling it different, like I didn't freak out.
You've never been one to freak out though.
I didn't. So yeah, but I mean, it was concerning. We had to figure something out. So
for those of you just joining us, we're doing a Father's Day edition. So feel free to ask any questions about, not that Claudia's a spokesperson, but how it's been, maybe a little different being an allergy dad from an allergy mom. There's another one from Amanda. She says, do you feel like your opinion is as respected as an allergy dad as your wife's is? If not, what are some ways you could feel more respected? If yes, what are some positive things that have made you feel that way? I have a clarifying question. You might not, Claudia, but do you mean respected as far as like to doctors, to teachers, to others? Is there anyone in general, or do you just mean like when people hear about our kid and they ask Claudia questions?
I'll say off the bat, when it comes to doctors or pediatricians, no, I don't.
Really?
No. I felt like that from day one. And so I think in that area.
Why is that?
I think in that area, they're used to mothers being there and handling the situations. And so it's just little things like I'll be in the room and they direct all the information to her.
I haven't noticed that.
They don't ask me any questions. If I say something, it's like, oh yeah, okay, then back to her. There's little things like that. And I've just accepted it. Like, okay, I assume like that's just the way it is. They're just used to talking to mothers and mothers being involved and taking care of everything. They're not used to a father probably that is involved. Okay, it happens. I understand that. And so I would say in that way, that's how I would feel. I felt I wasn't as respected. When it comes to other people, I think they see me as a father. So there's like, okay, he knows his child and he knows what's going on. So I will take what he has to say or what he has to share.
And I don't think you've ever had to work with school staff at this point, right?
No.
Yeah, it's been all me. So you haven't really had an experience with that.
And Amanda, as far as does that bother you? At times it does, especially if she's not there. That's when it bothers me the most. Because there's times where I've had to take my kids.
Oh yeah, he's taken them to get
to the appointments and whatnot.
Yeah, he's been very helpful. He works an atypical schedule, so he's sometimes home and can help me do errands. So, and see, that's funny because I remember feeling kind of different because I remember one time I was frustrated with one of our specialists, and I was like, "You take him," because I thought maybe like sending my husband would, be more impactful, like man to man or something. And you didn't feel that way.
Probably in that situation, I don't think it made a difference. I think it just was. But I think in general, that's something I experienced.
So, can I ask a follow-up question? If that did bother you, which you say sometimes it does, what is one way that like helps you get over that? Like, do you feel like you just need to advocate for yourself more, or do you just be like, brush it off? Like, what do you do with that?
Well, I think the times where I've been there with Megan, I just accept that, okay, Megan can communicate. She knows everything that I pretty much know, if not more. So as long as they're getting it from her, that's fine. The times where it's just me, I guess I do try to advocate as far as like I know my kids. I spend time with my kids. I've been involved. I've been to appointments. And then sometimes, I guess it's helpful to be like, well, my wife asked me to share this with you.
Pull the wife card.
Because she does, especially if she's concerned that like there's certain things that she does know that I might not know, or that might be on her mind. She'll send a list like, hey, can you make sure you touch upon these topics?
Yeah.
and these concerns.
Yeah.
So
work together. Well, and I think it helps too that like if as dads you want to be involved in the whole doctor process, because I feel like the more you've gone and the more they've seen you, the more they're like, oh yeah. Because I've noticed that even anytime I'm with a new doctor, because often I'll see like the doctor on staff or on call. You know, I feel like I'm kind of starting all over too, as in like, who are you? Are you an involved mother? Do you seem to pay attention? You know, you can tell doctors have like these screening questions where they're like, okay, are you just an overprotective mother, or do? Because I find the more details I give, like I noticed when I fed in this on this day that this happened, and I give lots of details. And I'm like, I'm worried they have an upset tummy, and then they seem to take me more serious. So I think like the more they've gotten to know you and see you at appointments, I've noticed that they're like, oh yeah, I remember you and I know who you are. And I think that's kind of with a lot of medical professionals.
And I guess the other coping skill is I really do try to not take it personal. Like, again, I've lived in this world. I've grown up being raised by women. You know, I can remember the times I've been to the hospital or been to a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. There are not fathers around. So I am understanding that as far as habit-wise or culture-wise, they're used to women being around. And I work in the healthcare or mental health, and you know, men are outnumbered where I work. There's more females. So I understand that that is typically what goes on. That's who they typically communicate with. I don't think they necessarily realize that they're doing that. That, oh, I'm talking to your wife more than I'm talking to you.
I think it's just socialized.
I think it's just, they're just used to it. So that's a big part of how I handle it is, yes, it may be frustrating, but I don't see it that they're necessarily doing it to me personally.
Yeah. And I personally like it when he is able to come with me, because then I don't have to relay it, you know, and that way if he has any follow-up questions that I haven't thought of, and, you know, it feels more like a united front. So I know there may be times you're like, was it worth it for me to come? And I might not always verbalize this, but I appreciate it when you come. I like having you there. So I'm sorry if any of your husbands have felt, you know, similarly. I know there's one on Instagram that said, I've noticed that too, and my husband comes with us to appointments. So, and it probably is like, I am the chattier one, as you've all noticed, and I take the lead.
She's a chattier one. She takes the lead. She's probably a lot more emotionally vulnerable as far as this really bothers me. It's probably a little bit everything.
Yeah, because like when I tell a story, it's like, I'm concerned and I'm worried, and I use lots of emotional words, and you're a lot more like fact, like he has a fever. Like, and he's been whining and he hasn't been eating, you know, so I think it's just different styles of communication. I don't think there's a right or a wrong or a better way. It's just different. It's just different ways.
And I've not been to nearly as many appointments as Megan has. So
yeah, so you just build up that rapport too, you know. So I think that's good. Okay, keep the questions coming. I've got one for Claudia while you guys type, and I'm kind of nervous to ask this one.
What is this? Oh. So Cosette says, I've noticed a common occurrence in the Facebook groups and in my own home too, of daddies forgetting the EpiPens. Do you always remember when your wife isn't there? I would say there was a little while where I would forget, or I would chance it. So I would go about it, well, we're not going to go eat food. Like, this isn't a trip where we're going to eat food. And so I wouldn't bring it. Yes, that's a no-no, and I now know better. So it was a learning process.
Hi, Caroline. Hi,
so yes, but no, now I do make sure that he brings it with him. And it's very handy that I can just say, hey, bring your backpack, because it has all of those things in it.
Yeah, that is nice. Not he's old enough to.
Because at first I took it seriously, like, and it was frustrating. Like, oh, I can't keep it in the car; it's gonna overheat. Like, I tried to,
I think it's hard because it's
make
not
sure
like
there was enough.
Like, I have a purse.
And and I'm not gonna lie, the diaper bag thing was kind of frustrating as well. Don't want to be carrying a diaper bag.
You do though. You will.
But yeah, now I'm fine. But as a brand new father, it was a concern. Like, I have to bring everything in this bag just when I just only care about the EpiPen. So, but yes, I've gotten better about it because I realize, especially through our experiences, that anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know, at any time, even if you're not planning for it to be a food event. So it's
Someone
just
could have food
better.
on their hands.
Yeah, it's
Someone
just
could
better to be on the
unexpectedly
safe
bring
side.
food. Yeah.
So yes, I am better about it. I do make sure that we have it.
And I don't feel like I have to remind you as much either.
No.
So
But it was a learning process as far as how severe it is, as well as getting in the habit.
Yeah.
So.
Good question. Thanks, guys. So one question I've been kind of nervous to ask you, especially live, because I don't know what your answer is going to be. But I was just wondering, is there a time that you wished I would have handled something regarding our children's allergies differently? Because I'm sure it is frustrating sometimes. Like, I've just been trying to be compassionate and like see things from your side, thinking of these questions and feeling like, man, I bet it is stressful sometimes. Like, get that phone call at work or come home at the end of the day and be like, by the way, there was this reaction at school, or by the way, I decided to do this with the doctor. Like, I try and keep him very involved and aware, but there's sometimes just I am the one that makes those calls at the time. So has there been something where you're like, oh, I wish you wouldn't have done that, or because we have different styles and lots of things.
I feel like for the most part, Megan has handled everything the best she could, and I've been understanding of it. I think the only sore spot for me throughout this journey was when our oldest had his anaphylactic reaction to yogurt, and I wasn't home.
I thought you were going to say that one, yeah.
And that was mainly because I thought that I communicated that we wouldn't do that, like feed him that, unless I was home, so that we could support each other.
Yeah.
And so it was a very traumatic experience. I understand that as well. As far as
it was probably worst reaction.
Yeah, it was his worst reaction, and I think I handled it very poorly as far as how I responded, as far as how I communicated my frustration of not being there when she shared it with him. Because I can't remember where I was, but when I showed up, boils, different color.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I've never seen anything like that, and it was very scary. But I think that was the only experience where I felt like we weren't on the same page as I would have liked to have been. And I know, like, it wouldn't have changed anything if I had been there and that happened. Like, it would have still been the same result. But it was just very scary. Well, I was really caught off guard.
Yeah. And I think
because we hadn't experienced anything like that before.
We didn't know what food allergies were. We didn't even have an EpiPen. We hadn't even seen an allergist yet. But I think something else to point out about that, because I think it's a sore spot for both of us. Like, I have a lot of guilt over it, and you obviously think at the time had like some question and some blame. But I think it's also important to recognize, like, we were 6 years younger, and we were brand new parents. So I feel like as brand new parents, it's easy to be like, why did you handle that anyways? So I just feel like we've grown and matured a lot since, just in the process of having more kids and gaining years of experience and whatnot.
Okay.
So, okay, sorry. People are asking questions. Have you caught them all? I think you had it.
So 2 occasions at school, son had reaction, but glad school acted fast. Also, my husband and I see things differently when it comes to food allergies for our oldest. Lately, my husband is one to ask restaurant managers about safe alternatives for our son. Okay. So how do you see it differently? Same here. I was alone with my son when he had first anaphylactic reaction, and he was 2 at the time. Yeah, it's scary. I mean, I feel really bad. I wasn't in the spot at the time to be, I guess, compassionate and validating. I was just really angry and scared. But yes, it is really scary. And then we have Amanda. She says, we have little preschool size.
Sorry, time out. With that, the live, I think that's great. Your husband is involved, though. I mean, props to him that he's at the restaurant asking managers and stuff. I mean, I know for me, I like it when I'm not the only one taking charge. So if that's why you were sharing that as well, like props to him. And I hope, you encourage him and tell him how much that means to you, that he is involved that way. So that's great. That's great, Liv. Okay, sorry, keep going.
So Amanda, she says, we have little preschool-sized backpacks we keep epi and asthma meds in, and that backpack goes with her everywhere. That way my husband doesn't have to worry about carrying it in his pocket or forgetting it. Yes, that's a great idea. It's very helpful to have something this simple and discreet. And then you also added, do medical costs wear on you when making the decision to epi or go to the ER? For me, no. Usually it's been the trauma, the experience of having to do that to our son and have him have that done by us has been the thing that's been on our mind. At least for me. I guess I can't speak for Megan. But for me, that was the thing that was consistently on my mind. It wasn't necessarily the cost. The cost usually comes after or while you're there for so many hours. I hate the ER. That's, oh my gosh. But after being there for so many hours, yes, the cost will come up. But initially, it's the trauma. Like, I have to stab my child in the leg with this thing.
But,
so.
Okay, all right, sorry, were you done?
Yeah, that's it for me on that question.
For me, though, it is. I absolutely think about costs, and I wish I didn't. And I feel a little guilty saying that I do. But I manage our finances, so I think that might be slightly different, and maybe not. But for me, because I do all the finances, I manage bills, I budget. I mean, he's involved. Like, I always share, like, once a week we try and touch base on where our finances are at, and we have a budget we both try and live by. But as far as like crunchy numbers and getting creative and like it's my blog that is the filler money that I feel like, yeah, I get stressed. I'm like, oh my gosh, here goes $500. Go sit in the ER for 4 hours if we don't need it, So yeah, it definitely crosses my mind. And I wish it wasn't that way. But I do feel like obviously our son's health comes first, but I do have to be responsible as well. Like, I can't run into the ER every time like his nose starts to run, because I have to make sure it's a true reaction, I feel like, before we do something like that.
Yes, Liv, the long hours and trauma. I feel like it's worse than sometimes in the situation itself. Like, you feel like they're not moving fast enough. They're not handling things quick enough. Like, it's just like, oh, we're going to check your weight now and check your vitals. And we'll have someone in here in a second. And it's like 10, 15 minutes pass. The doctor comes in. It's the same questions. You like already asked these questions. These things are in your system. Like, when are we going to get to administering the medication? So, like you're high in anxiety. You're there for a reason, for a solution. And yeah, it's just very, yeah. I turned into Papa Bear in the ER.
I don't think so.
No, I do.
Well, maybe on the inside.
And
I think he's like giving off heat and he looks angry, but you don't ever verbally. You're just quiet in the corner.
That's not true.
I think so. You think? I don't know.
No.
Maybe because I know you can be a lot more. I feel like you.
Because I'm trying to be respectul, because they're gonna treat my son, and I am frustrated and stressed, and it never changes.
No, never.
It's like all over again. Okay, we're back to the ER and back to the ER experience.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading to make sure I don't miss any. So Liv is asking, and sorry guys, probably just a few more questions and then we'll wrap it up. Because we know it's late, especially for you East Coasters. So she says, do you feel it's tough managing family events? Can I give my answer first?
No. This is the Father's Day. I'm supposed to do all the talking.
I know, but I have
She pressed me on this. Make sure you do the talking. I'll
just sit
answer
here and sip my water.
I'll answer the question first, the best I can. Do you feel it's tough managing family events? No, because Megan usually manages it very well as far as organizing it. And then anything, I guess, extended family wise, it's usually her family. And again, she usually handles it, / she's educated them on everything, even though she has to re-educate them from time to time and deal with the fallout if they feel it may be too stressful or not convenient for them. But yeah, I don't think it's been tough managing family events for me necessarily.
Well, how did you go when we went to Boston? Like eating at your dad's apartment and stuff.
Boston, when I did visit my family, I felt was fine. Because I had faith that like Boston, for one, is a large enough city that we could find something for our child. And then two, like I know that how I grew up, my family's from the Caribbean. And I knew that like when it comes to cooking, they cook from scratch. And so if they needed to make any changes or accommodations, that could be made.
And they were.
And yeah, and that there's enough variety in dishes that we could find something.
Well, and I think it helps that like chicken, rice, and beans is kind of a staple. Like he could do all those.
Yes, and the things he can have are mainly you can find in Latin, Caribbean, indigenous type foods. Like so, it wasn't. I guess that part wasn't so bad, but I do feel the tough part is the educating.
Yeah.
And making sure they understand, like, no, this isn't just a preference, a lifestyle preference, you know, like, because especially for my family, they're not as involved, like, as far as being educated or me educating them. And that's mainly
like we've gone there twice in 6 years, so that helps.
Yeah, that's because we don't go to Boston very much because the expense mainly being over there.
Yeah.
But I do feel when we did go to like North Carolina the first time, it was hard. I felt like we were new and it was still trying to educate and help people understand that, okay, this is a serious thing. This isn't a preference.
Yeah.
Like we have to make these accommodations. You can't have this, you can't have that.
That said though, I feel like his North Carolina family, they're vegetarian. They like to do gluten-free. They like to do dairy-free a lot. So I feel like they do get it in the sense that they elect to do different styles of eating, so they're familiar and they know what to kind of.
But it's voluntary.
Yeah.
None of it's.
But you know, some people are like dairy free. How do you do dairy free? Like they're like, oh, we're used to like omitting things, and
yeah.
So that was nice. But I agree with you. Like, and I think this is typical for a lot of families, is that you tend to work with your side. Like Claudia doesn't organize things with my side; it goes through me. So. Mm-hmm. And because I might have a sister here and my parents travel here often to see us, I just organize it. So Clay doesn't really have to touch it, you know. And I think that to give my family credit too, though, they've always really rolled with it and done well with it. So I don't think, like maybe if they were difficult or tough to work with, maybe you'd have to feel like you had to keep holding boundaries and reminding, but they do so well that it's kind of like it's just no big thing now. And we work around it and so on and so forth. So do we have any last questions? Otherwise I'm gonna I think I'll ask. I had a ton of questions. We'll have to like do a part 2. This is fun. But
part 2, I didn't sign that in the contract.
Hey, we could even just say it for next Father's Day, right?
That's an increase in pay right there.
I'll make you
renegotiate
lasagna again.
Part 2.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, because he's a very good mediator and he does a lot of that in his job where he works in, like he said, in the mental health field. So, because I just feel like it can get really heated as far as like you're both concerned about your child, and then there's finance concept part of it, and you can both feel passionate about handling a certain way. So what would your advice be to people who like kind of get that at that crossroads of how you want to handle things? Like, what do you do if there's an allergy mom and an allergy dad and they see it differently and they are disagreeing? Like, do you have any tips on how to work around if you're having an argument or you're frustrated with the way someone's handling something? Tough one?
Well, it's a complicated.
Yeah.
But I guess a simplified answer is, and when Megan and I have had those moments, which we have had.
I'm gonna guess that thumbs up means you've had that happen too. Well,
I would say it's important to realize there isn't a right and wrong. You may feel in the moment.
Go to bed.
You may feel in the moment that there is a right and wrong.
Yeah.
Like as far as like absolutely right and absolutely wrong, and that's usually not the case. And so it's helpful to remember that you're both on the same team as far as what you're trying to accomplish. You both want your child to be safe, to be healthy. The list can go on and on and on. And so being able to go back to that as far as like, okay, what is it that we're trying to accomplish here? And what is our intent? Is very helpful to kind of lower down the energy to where you can hear each other out and why they are choosing or suggesting a specific way or solution, and so that you can be more in a position of validating how they're feeling. And I think the hard part for us is because we are different, so different in some ways as far as emotionally. She can be in a different spot emotionally as far as she's worried about the finances, so she's giving a solution that caters to that, whereas I'm concerned about just fixing it no matter what. Like, I'm not worried about the finances, so I'm giving the solution. And then that's where the headbutting is going on. And so if you can figure out what that person's concerns is and vice versa and validate what their concern is, because it's probably valid.
They might just be coming from a different angle.
Yeah, they're coming from a different angle. Then you're ready
to address at that
moment. And then you can address in that moment, like, okay, yes, finances is a concern. Maybe there's something we can, whatever, like, oh, we can save, or we have saved, and then we can get off the table. Or, yes, fixing the problem is obvious answer, and maybe there's other options or there's other concerns as far as how to fix it. So we can address it in that moment. And then usually, yeah, Molly says go back to bed. So yeah, that is very simple, but yet it can be hard in the moment. But that's usually what it takes, is realizing you're on the same team and that there isn't an absolute right or wrong all the time. And that if you can hear each other out, see what the concerns are, where they're coming from emotionally, and that's hard because, right, women tend to be very vulnerable emotionally and men tend to be very logical. Let's just face the problem. I'm not going to talk about how frustrated I am and how I'm stressed out right now. I'm just going to get to let's fix it, even though I'm trying to fix it because I'm frustrated or because I'm stressed or because I'm sad or concerned. And so I'd say as a father, that is very helpful. If you can get more in touch with using emotional words to kind of support your logic, it tends to go over better and lessen the headbutting. Because again, they want you to be emotional, but they'll accept the logic and they'll take it, and there'll be confusion or concerns around it. Well, you're coming at it logically, and I don't feel logically that's the best solution. And that's the way they'll come about it, and you totally miss the target. That's the issue, is that you're just being logical about it, so they don't know really where to go with it. And so it's amazing when you just throw in an emotional word like I'm frustrated, how it changes how they take it. So
Yeah.
And I'm still learning that.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional, even though I do help people.
Well, I love that because that's why I brought up this question is because there was one time we were frustrated. I don't even think it was food allergies, but it was something parenting. And you said, I just had to take a step back and realize we were arguing over two positive things for our son. Like we both are fighting for our son. Like we're fighting for our son.
Yeah.
Like when you stop and think about like, oh yeah, you're so passionate about it because you care about him. I'm so passionate because I care about him. Wow, we both want what's best for him. And I think like go to bed angry. Absolutely. Like I get very hot-headed when I'm upset, you know? And so I need a minute to cool down. Because otherwise I just like, if I build an emotion and it's just like, go to bed angry, get in a better centered place, you know, even talk about with someone else if you need to before you talk about. We are big fans of like support calls. I'm just like, okay, what is it you're really bothered about? Getting to the motive of what your problem is, if it's finances, if it's, you know, embarrassment, if it's stress about family, and really hit the heart because it's easy to get angry about all the surrounding stuff, but like what is a real issue?
Yeah.
And that helps me like cut through it.
Yeah. So what about when you need to make a very quick decision, like during anaphylaxis? I think it's helped that we have a plan already. Like there's not very much variation or deviating that we would need to make in the moment.
I get what she's saying though, because like, what if like you think he needs EpiPen and I don't? Like what? I'm tempted to just think I would just do it.
I thought we had an understanding though of what would constitute a situation where you need EpiPen.
Yeah, and I think for the most part.
And I agree. If it was an issue, I would just do it.
Yeah, same.
So
at least we agree on that.
Yeah, like if I felt like that's what constituted it, I would just do it. And I feel like we've had plans as far as how to handle it.
Yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong, we question it every time. But I'm glad I have him to bounce it off.
We talk it out though. We go through a checklist.
Okay, now, okay, you know, like did you see how? Did you notice that cough? Did you, and we sit and I don't ever feel like it's been clear cut. Should we give him it? Should we not? Like I'm always second guessing myself, even though we have an allergy action plan, even though we've agreed on things. I feel like there's still been times where we're like,
Yes.
And
yes.
So it's tough, but the thing is, I mean, this will come back to bite me, but I don't think I would ever be mad at you for using one. Like I can see me being like, and maybe that's a good conversation to have when it's not heated in the moment, but like, I guess knowing that epinephrine will never hurt him, it can only do good.
Mm-hmm.
That I would be like, well, I can see him being like, I really don't think he needed it, but at least now he has it and we can be extra safe,
Yeah.
I see me being like, there goes $100 for the EpiPen, and now it's gonna be a $500 ER bill, and being frustrated about that. But at the end of the day, I would never be like, oh, you made sure our son was breathing, So
yeah, I don't see it being like that. I think during the moment, from past experience, we're usually trying to see as much as we can and share with each other what we see.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the moment, are trying to like, okay, we need to give him Benadryl. Okay, we take the shirt off, see how his breathing is, see if he's developing hives. Asking him what he ate and when it happened, and just keeping tabs and communicating whether we need to escalate the steps as far as EpiPen, or just going and sitting in the ER parking lot, or going into the ER because we're scared to administer the EpiPen. Yeah. So we rather them do it, but then we go through the whole 45 minutes before they do something because of all the questions but
And we have just a family action plan where if we feel like he was starting to get worse, that we will give it ourselves. And our allergist has suggested that. Like, even though technically the hospital doesn't want you administering medication, and this is a very personal choice.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
Is we're like, we will administer, like, we
even
in
even in the ER.
We take our own
if we really felt like
they're not paying attention.
That they're not paying attention and things are getting out of hand, yes, we've agreed that we will do it.
Like, get out of the way, nurse. I'm doing it.
We will do it.
Yeah. Because we've had many experiences where we feel like the ER staff will hook him up and they're like, but his stats are fine. I'm like, yeah, they could plummet any second because he has not only the allergies but severe asthma, so his airways are already jacked. So let's not wait till it's too late. So that's been fun.
Yeah. But yeah, we usually have the plan though, and it helps. Benadryl, the asthma medication to make sure his airways are open, and then we monitor and communicate and go from there. What we need to do, where we need to go. So
yeah, but it can be tricky. I mean, I can see because there's been times where, like, that one time we were just like, he swore he didn't eat anything. And we were like, how could this have happened? You know, so it's that confusion of like, because it's pretty clear cut if it's like, okay, we knew he ate it, we know he's getting hives, but it's hard. There are those times you're like, but what did you eat? What did you touch? Okay, what do you know?
But I think we've learned that in the moment, you just gotta let go of that.
I know. You want to trace it back. You want to be like, where did this come from?
As far as like, okay, I don't know what it is. What you're saying isn't making sense. But what we're seeing right now is something's going on. So we gotta handle it and treat it as it's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we live even farther from the hospital now, which is really frustrating to me. So I feel like we have to be even more on our A game because it used to, we're just like blocks away, and now it's like a good 12-minute drive. So. Ooh. Okay, as you can see, one of our children is still up. We need to put them to bed. It is late, and our phone is about to die. So we're so glad you guys joined. It was fun doing kind of a different topic. I wanted to wish Claudia a happy Father's Day from yesterday. He really is a wonderful dad, not just an allergy dad, but he raises our kids so well. He loves them, and he is such a good, better half to my personality, even though we're so different. And compliments me and does such a great job. So happy Father's Day, late Father's Day. Hope you guys had a good Father's Day, and tell all your allergy dads you love them. And if you have any leftover questions, we can always answer them next week. We do these weekly at 9. And the last thing I want to say is tomorrow I should be cleaning up a dairy-free Italian dressing marinated chicken. We used to do Italian dressing in a bag with chicken in the summer all the time growing up, and I have recreated that.
It's
so good. So I've already gotten the pictures. I've started the post. It should be going live tomorrow. Look for that. And do us a favor, share, tell other people about it. If you meet other allergy moms, the more people we can help, the more we feel good about. So thank you guys for joining. We appreciate you guys. And if you came late, be sure to watch the replay. It'll be live on Instagram for 24 hours. And I always keep them on my YouTube and Facebook.